thank you for joining this. Thank
Oh, it's
you.
such a pleasure.
For anyone watching the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's going to be very epic. I'm very excited to have Annemarie here. You're just an amazing, inspiring, just lights. As
Oh,
soon as I
thank
met you,
you.
I was just like, oh, just like light radiating out of you. And for anyone that doesn't know, Annemarie is an amazing coach and woman on her journey towards helping others through burnouts and cancer. And I'm going to let you do the whole story because you tell it best because it's your own story. And my name of course, is Lisanne. We're going to have some chats and we're just going to let it flow. If anyone has any questions, you can drop them in the comments. You can, even if you're watching the replay, drop them and we will make sure we get back to them because we want to hear from you guys. And let's do this. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Who are you?
So hi everyone, it's an absolute joy and pleasure to be here with Lisanne because I have met this amazing soul about not quite a year ago, but almost a year ago, when we got to share an experience at a workshop, and we've been recently reconnected, and it's just such a perfect connection. Our stories align, and our lives have obviously come together for a reason. My background is very much in coaching and supporting people to grow and to thrive through times of crisis, whether they're sick, stuck, or struggling. And it's not something that sort of just happened overnight. It's been a journey for me to get to this point. My background is that I have myself had skin cancer at 22. I didn't have melanoma, so I'm incredibly grateful that that's not the skin cancer that I manifested. But I came from a long line of redheaded people who have had varying degrees of skin cancers over the years. So to get it at 22 was such a surprise to me. You know, I thought it's for my grandfather. That's who's getting skin cancer. So 22, I got this major wake-up call. I had just moved to London. I'd found my new life. And bam, I got this wake-up call. What had happened was I really wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't watching. I wasn't being aware. I had this little sort of a spot on my nose. And I just thought, I'll cover it with makeup. I'll ignore it. And it turned into this little mini hole. And I just continued to cover it up. And about 9 months after it first appeared, I had a boss who actually called it out. And it took me another 2-3 weeks before I did something about it. And when I was sent immediately to a skin tumor clinic, I really got my wake-up call. I was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, and it was removed 4 days later in an 8-hour operation. I'm sure many of you have had similar experiences. But that was shocking at 22, and to find myself in that place and not know how it had gotten there, it started to make me question it.
Yeah.
Fast forward 2 years later, and I kind of ignored it and put it behind me and moved on. My dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. He was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And we had a 7-month journey with him through that, where he went through treatment. He was in hospital most of the time. And unfortunately, we lost him to that. And a year later, almost to the day, my mum was diagnosed.
Oh, you just froze. Hold on.
With
I think we're back.
We lost her there. Or I lost me there.
You're back.
A year later, my mum was diagnosed with exactly the same cancer. It was like shocking. It was absolutely shocking to think that I was in this position again and couldn't understand what this meant, but I just knew there was a bigger meaning behind it that I needed to learn from it.
What made you click that? What made you go?
What made me think that?
Yeah, of being like, there's something going on, because it takes a certain, like a little bit of awareness, or like being like, okay, what's, because you're going with so many emotions and so many things are happening.
Yeah.
What
Well,
you'll be able to,
when you're in a space of choice,
yeah.
and I believe that now, you have a choice. You either let it crush you and crumble you and think, why me? I'm going to fall to this and I'm going to be crushed by it. Or you can reach out for the bigger meaning and the bigger reason and almost find a justification for it, because that's what you're looking for. You're hoping that there's a reason for this pain you're going through and to find meaning behind it. So I sat in the same oncologist's office, the same chemo wards, the same hospital, thinking I've been here before and I didn't get the message I was here to receive. So now I'm here again. Because if that's not what this is about, the world is just too cruel.
Yeah.
So I made a choice in those moments. There had to be a bigger reason, and I chose to survive and to thrive through those experiences, knowing that. I had no clue what that was going to be. I had no idea that I'd be here today doing what I'm doing. I was working in the fashion world as a high-flying, manager, and I had no clue what the meaning was going to be. But I said, this is so big. This is so big that it is bigger than what I can comprehend right now. But it will become clear. And I heard it's really interesting. I heard Steve Jobs say recently, well, I watched a video of his recently. It's very hard when you're in a dot to connect forward. It's much easier when you're forward and ahead to connect back. So I can do that. I've done that. But knowing that it's part of the process and knowing that there's reasons for it just helped me to get through those times.
Definitely. And because I know like your mom and your dad went through a very different journey.
Yes.
How was that for you, being the daughter and seeing them go through completely different journeys? Because I know some people that are in here have also had like family members going through cancer.
Yeah.
And it can be very challenging to be on the other side.
Sure, it can.
You've been in both seats. You've had like gone through something yourself, and then your mom and your dad. Like, how were those experiences different, and how were you able to be in those situations?
Okay. So in both, we took very different approaches because they are unique people and the situations to them were unique. What I realized most was that this was their journey and I was a part of it, but I couldn't change their journey or map it out. I had to hold space for it and I had to be there for it and to support. Privileged to do that. I was able to work my life around their treatments and their needs so that I could be there as much as possible. They both took a very different approach. Their mindsets were incredibly different. My dad never thought that it was going to be the thing that ended him. And so he lived every day as if it were never going to be his last. He thought he was invincible. And it was a beautiful thing to watch and heartbreaking at the same time. And my mom almost put a timer on. I'm going to own this. I'm going to hide. And she really did. And that was difficult for me to think mom had just given up.
Yeah.
She went through the treatment and she fought hard. But that was her journey and I couldn't change it for her. I just got to be part of that and understand that she needed to go through it in her own way. And that the reasons she was there and going through that were for her to honor. And so I think honor is a big word for me around cancer, especially for the journey. If you are not the person with the cancer, you have to honor that person's journey and honor them as an individual. You have something to learn from it. You're experiencing it. You're there, but this is theirs and it is happening for them, not to them, but for them. So a big part of my journey was honoring where my mom and dad chose to be with it and how they chose to live through it.
That's amazing. And I'm so with that because I even just watched something that was talking about like we are not statistics, we are not numbers. We are like humans and everyone has their own unique experience and every journey is different. And it's
Yeah.
being able to hold space for that and honor that, like you say, it's such a beautiful thing. How, because I know afterward, like after we fast forward, you had another click in your health. Could
I
you talk
did.
about?
So the wake up calls weren't enough. Um, I had a very strong sense of, and I've had this since I was a child, of getting through situations through humor. But that's a deflective mechanism to say, it's fine, it's going to be okay, deflect. Yes, that sentiment of it's all happening for a reason is something to support you and to understand, but it's not an excuse to be able to ignore what's actually going on
Yeah.
and to not deal with the trauma. So my belief is we're all spiritual beings living a human existence. We cannot completely disregard the human existence part of it. So the things that happen to us physically, emotionally, mentally, they all have to get recognized and worked through.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was doing a little bit of that throughout those years, just sort of a very British thing to do is keep calm and carry on, although I'm Irish. Obviously been here for so long.
It's like you have to keep going, and you're in
Yes, you have to keep going. So
sort of survival
survival
mode. Yeah.
Yes, there is a sense of survival, and we all go into that mode at certain stages, and it's important because it will keep you going. There comes a stage where it's time.
Mm-hmm.
Time to deal with it, time to recognize what's happened, time to delve deep and move on. Not just ignore it, because that's there's a real risk in people doing that, of just deflecting it and moving on. And this stay positive attitude, it can actually be dangerous because you're ignoring the reasons that something has happened in the first place, or you're ignoring a trauma that's happened to you and you've suppressed the feelings. I say be optimistic, because positive is just maybe rolling things in glitter. Where being optimistic is you see hope and you see the future and you see the potential.
And
so I just
hope.
rolled things in glitter my whole life.
Which can be very exciting, but it's not really
I just
sustainable on the long term.
And then, bam, it all came crashing down on me. So I didn't listen to the warning signs. It was all, if I hadn't experienced these things, I would not be sitting here today talking to you, talking to all you beautiful souls, and doing the work that I do. So I get to honor that, and I'm incredibly grateful for every stage. But the wake up again call, it's like I press snooze, 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 snooze on the message. So I was on a trip. I was promoted about 4 times in the 2 years after my dad died, and then after mum died, I took a break and came back and was promoted 2 or 3 times. So I was flying all over the world, I was living the life. I had the clothes, the car, the house, the home, the friends, everything that you would think was successful. And one day I was on a trip to China and my throat literally closed up. I got anaphylaxis. And I had no idea what was going on or where it was coming from or what had caused it. So this continued to happen every day. I was getting mild anaphylactic reactions. My body literally shut me off. It stopped me eating the foods I shouldn't eat because I was having a reaction to every single thing that I put in my mouth. It was stopping me in my tracks because it took away all my energy. I wasn't able to get out of bed some days. I was absolutely drained from it. It turned out that it was a genetic condition called histamine intolerance. And I lived a year of fighting, trying to continue the life I'd been living while dealing with this. And it just was finally enough was enough. And I burnt out completely. So that's a condition that I still live with, but I have 0 to a few symptoms very rarely because I managed it. And I finally got the wake-up call that I'm not invincible. And these traumas and these experiences were going to show up somewhere in my life. And the biggest time they showed up was when I was doing my best. And at my best because I had the most to lose. So I was going to get the biggest wake-up call possible. You know, to get skin cancer right on your face where you look yourself in the mirror every single day, there's no coincidence there for me. I believe it was there to say, hello, you need to do something differently about your life. So Wake up calls are real things, and you're just not going to be able to perhaps know that that's what's happening in the moment. It's when you look back. But we can start to tune into those. We can start to really understand that things are happening to us to send us messages. We're very astute beings. We're very in tuned beings when we choose to be.
That's it, when we choose to be, because
Yes.
it's so easy to get distracted in all the noise and everything that's happening, like your successful career and all that stuff. And it's easy, like the taps on the shoulder, like when they're really quiet, it is sometimes very tempting to walk past them, because having to look at them it means taking responsibility and taking ownership, and that's a hard thing to do. So when you then had the wake up call and the burnout and having to drag yourself out of bed, what was something that you really, that was like the first little click that moved you back into action? Like taking small steps, being like, I'm moving forward, because like so many people have that rock bottom and that like the stage where they're stuck, and then how do you get out of that stuckness and get moving again?
I was, that feeling, sick, stuck, struggling. I was there. I didn't know how to get out. I didn't know where to turn, how to climb up. I didn't have the energy to start doing it. And I just got a moment of realizing that I was either choosing to let it take over my life and run my life or not. And I was faced with a sort of a diagnosis that I, for the rest of my life, potentially, which had its own side effects. And I still wasn't feeling any better. So I made some choices and I started to do the research, and I got really radically responsible for my own health. I made sure that I connected with my physicians and my consultants so that we were all aligned in what we were going to do. But I decided to heal from this rather than to be a sick person. The choice was to heal from it, because I thought if it's genetic, I was born with it. So I have lived this many years without it. I can do something about this. So I stopped doing all the things that didn't align with me being healthy and my healing. So healing was every day, all day. And it was about resting when I needed to rest. It was about acknowledging my body, about listening to the symptoms that were coming up for me, understanding what I'm doing or not doing that was aiding them. And I have healed through food, some meditation, although I get distracted really easily, so I don't find that one so easy. But I do moving meditations and walking. But I decided to heal. That was my decision. And it was when I took a choice that it wasn't an easy, quick. It took me a good year to get energy back enough to be able to work again full time. But I now always live a life that I am healing, that I'm always looking for the greatest help. And that includes emotional traumas.
I know, we need to clean that up too. It's like this weekend I was talking with some friends and we were talking about like our health and our well-being. It's like when you clean a house, it is going to get dirty again. You need to keep it up. You need to keep cleaning and looking for the spots that haven't been cleaned yet, and you need to pay more attention.
Great analogy. Yeah.
And there's not a wonder pill that's going to spotlessly clean your house and it will never be dirty again. And that's the same with your body. Like so often we tend to look for that one fix or the one like solution to the problem.
I totally agree with you there, and it's the one thing that I really try and help people to understand is that there is no one-stop shop.
Yeah.
One, because we're all individual beings, so the same thing is not going to work on me that will on you for lots of reasons, environmental, genetically, in terms of our mindsets, in terms of our experiences, in terms of how we were raised or our childhoods or our belief in it. And second of all, because we are made up of so many different parts, that we've got emotional, we've got metaphysical, we've got our physical being, we've got our spiritual beings, and it all is compromised of one of those things. And then there's the environment that we live in. So the food we eat, the things we put in our body, the environment around us,
the people around,
the people we're surrounded by,
everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it all creates these unique, fascinating, iconic beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all have to be treated in different ways. And we have to treat ourselves as those unique beings. So I always
Honoring that.
talk
And
about
you come back to the honoring again.
honor.
Not honoring, like we said, someone else's journey, but honoring your own journey. And
My
that
own journey.
ties in because
Yeah.
I'm reading the comments from Angie. And she was saying about wake-up calls as well, having lost her mom and then having lost her dad's. And now, like, she's had cervical cancer as well. I'm just scanning through. But in the end, she's saying, how long does the roller coaster of emotions last when you come to the realization? And that is, again, everyone has their own journey.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have this hit of being like, this is my purpose, this is what I'm here to do, and this is, and then you still have a bumpy road figuring it all out. And then other people don't know, and they just kind of do, and then a year later they figure it out, or 5 years later. Everyone has their own journey.
I would agree with that. And I think purpose, I would love to come back to that.
Yes.
That's really important.
Because I love your view on purpose and cancer. Please dive in.
And it's so important. But to answer Angie's kind of question and to kind of build on what you said, everyone's journey is going to be unique, but it's never going to be a straight, flat road. It will always be a roller coaster of emotions. And some more emotions will come in. And that is the beauty of life and also the challenge of life.
Yeah.
Because no one promised us it would be easy. But I totally honor that and understand you're looking for the end point, or you want to know when will this be over.
Especially when you're finding yourself in a stuck place.
I would invite you to think about where you are each moment. So rather than thinking, when people say get in the moment, they're like, I don't know how to do that. I am here. My head's not in the future. It's not in the past. Consciousness.
Yeah.
Just think, be conscious, be present. And being in the journey is where it's at. The destination sights on a new destination. So you never actually are at your destination. There's a journey every single time. So trying to learn to love the dance and to be great experiences and to these emotions that we talk about where we think they're bad emotions and good emotions. Starting to understand that they are all there to support you, to help you to understand something. So when you're in those tough times where you sort of feel like you're battling against something that you've already been through, or it feels really challenging, it's about taking a new paradigm and maybe thinking about how can I change my perspective on this so I don't see it as purely a painful experience, but I can look at how this is going to serve me and therefore one day being grateful for it. So the emotions and the roller coaster, they are part of the journey and they do come. And I'm not here pretending that I feel happy, joyous and elated every single day, because that's not reality.
That's the glitter.
But when
be happy.
The ego, yeah. But when I do feel those other experiences, I realize they're passing through.
Yeah.
They will also pass me by.
Exactly.
And they have a message with them. So the sooner I work out the message,
the sooner
quicker they go. Yeah.
And it's again like the choice. Choosing. It's separation of like, this is not me.
Yeah.
Like I am not angry, I'm feeling angry, I'm experiencing anger or whatever emotion it is. It is here to teach me something, and you can either let yourself be dragged down by it, or you can choose to be like, okay, what is this serving me for? Why is this happening for me? What is the lesson here? And the funny thing is like when you start really like to get frustrated and start resisting the emotion, it gets even worse. But once you allow it space and honor it, honoring again and giving it space and being like, you're here, I'm going to feel it. And I know it's going to pass again. So I don't have to be afraid of the emotion because I know it will pass. Yeah. Because how often have we been joyful and it passed? How often have we been sad and it passed? And it all just constantly, like you say, intense.
And there are hundreds of emotions and we put them usually down to happiness, sadness, angry, depressed, we give ourselves like a very small bucket to play around with.
Yeah.
But if we look out for joy, elation, happiness, excitement, there's lots of these little experiences that we can actually create in our lives too.
Yeah.
So it's trying not to say to yourself that this is a bad emotion, and let it pass through and take the message. Somebody gave me a beautiful there's a choice there, or we can allow the wind to take them through and process them. So yeah, we're not our feelings, we're not our emotions. We experience in them.
I would love to dive into purpose.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes. Because I remember you saying, when we were speaking last time, you said something about cancer and purpose and cells. And I'm just going to let you take that one away because you said it so beautifully.
This was one of my biggest realizations. So to give you some further background, after I experienced all those things in cancer, I went and I studied massage therapy, aromatherapy, diet and nutrition, and I specialized in all of those categories in oncology care or cancer care. So I've done some research in the holistic complementary side of things. And the one thing that struck me out of every single class I went through was somebody who said to me, a cancer cell has lost its purpose. So many of us will know how cancer manifests or how it works, how it grows within our bodies. And it starts with a mutation, then a duplication, then a further duplication, and then moving outside of its original environment. And
I have
lost its purpose. So a breast cell.
Hold on. I'm just going to open the door. We're live, and my housemate doesn't have a key. I'll be right back. You just
I'll keep going.
Magic. Sorry.
So we'll wait. I think she wants to hear this.
The keys on the door. On the kitchen.
Okay. Are you back?
I'm back.
Cool. So I waited for you.
I'm so sorry.
So the way it was described to me was, if we picture a jar full of ping pong balls.
Yeah.
And they're all pink. And that's our breast. That's the breast cells. And they're all pink. We suddenly find a green one in there. And that's a mutated cell. Well, that green cell duplicates and triplicates and moves on. And then it will find its way outside of that area. That is what cancer is. It's got 4 stages. Our immune system should be able to break down the cancer at each of those stages, but for whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't. And that cell, that little now breast cell, might go off and find its way somewhere else because it stopped knowing what to do with itself. It went wild and it stopped knowing that I'm a breast cell and I need to stay here and recreate this space. And as cells die and more cells grow to create the space, this little guy has lost his purpose. And it was a huge realization for me because what I realized from all of the people who I've experienced cancer with and all of the things that I've researched and thought about cancer is often we find that people who have lost their purpose end up with cancer.
Yeah.
Or cancer becomes the thing that stops people having purpose because it controls them. And the turning point and the difference between the healing process and the not healing process is finding purpose through that journey. Finding purpose while you're in that journey and from that journey.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. I know for me that moment I sat in that oncologist's office and thought, why is this happening? Today, I know I found purpose because of that journey. I think this was always where I was meant to be, and they were my realizations. But the purpose that I found made it me bigger than the cancer.
Yeah.
So I'm in like prime suspect for getting cancer. Like my chances of cancer, because I've had basal cell carcinoma, I've also had high grade dyskeratosis of my cervical cells. My body grows cancer. Because I've had skin cancer, I'm 50% more likely to get bowel, breast, or lung cancer. I have two parents who've had lung cancer, so although it's not genetic, I have the lungs of somebody who could get lung cancer. I find purpose. I'm bigger than cancer.
Yeah.
And I know my mission and my message are here, and I will fight it. So every day I live healing as if I'm healing cancer every day.
Yeah.
And I find purpose. And for me, that's the difference. And what I work to do is to support people to find their purpose. And if they're in the wrong job or in the wrong relationship, it's all going to contribute to your overall well-being.
Mm.
And I'm not saying cancer is not a complicated thing. We know it is. There's many factors.
I was going to jump into that. Like, there is so many.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, like, we still don't understand really. And there's so many, just like anything we were saying, like, there's so many components of our health, of our well-being, of our experience of this life. And this is one of them. And it doesn't get highlighted as much in the Western society, and it is a very important one, in my opinion, as well. You froze again. Angie, you're back. Yeah, you're back. Cool.
I'm back.
Yeah, no, like Angie was saying, she's now 32 and she's let the cancer define me this entire time. Thank you for saying that. It's so true. What I loved, have you read The Cancer Whisperer from Sophie Savage?
No, I haven't read it yet. It's on my read book list.
It's the one. And one of her most famous things is that cancer doesn't have, you have cancer. Cancer doesn't have you.
Yes.
Key turning point. And like you say, like, I own my healing, and every day I'm working on healing. And whatever will happen in the future, or what the end of the journey will be, we don't have any control over that. But we have, like you said, the choice, what we do now, and how we choose to interpret things and approach things. That's our choice.
Yes.
And it's something very profound that for so many people during the cancer journey, there's this the survival mode. Like, we need to get to the other side. And then a lot of people survive, and then it's like, now what?
Yeah.
Because that there was this end goal that they had to get to, and then, like, we always know, like, there's going to be another goal to go to. And then so many people are like, but now what? And it's finding purpose and starting to tap into what actually is your purpose that's going to bring the magic to life and actually bring healing.
Yeah, and find purpose in your cancer. Yeah. So finding purpose in your life and finding it in your cancer, and taking radical responsibility for ourselves, for our health, for our feelings. And what I see a lot happening is people going back to their old lives and their old environments and thinking, I'm done, I'm better, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then I see them coming back with stage 2, and, you know, their cancer has spread and it has manifested and metastasized because they went back to where they came from, and they tried to live their life in the same way and not change the environment, not change their mindset, and think, oh, I've been lucky, I'm healthy now. We're constantly going to, as we said earlier, be fighting something. And if we try and heal in the same environment that we got sick, it's never going to work.
No.
So we need to make changes, and we need to find that purpose and focus forward. And finding purpose in your cancer means that you have gratitude for it, and it's almost like forgiving it.
Yeah.
And being grateful for it, because it brought you to where you are today. And we all are grateful for the wonderful experiences we've been through that bring us to where we are today, like university, school, our parents, winning competitions. We don't thank the failures that we went through, and the times that we were stuck and we were struggling. And we get to thank those too, because they're part of the journey and it's on your route to your purpose.
I would even thank them more.
Yeah.
Because the challenges that I've had and the things that I've had to work through, that's the things where I grew the most. That is the moments and times. We froze again. Yes, we're back, I think.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah. Sorry.
That is the time where we grow the most.
Yeah.
That is the time where we figure most things out, when we do not know and when we are being challenged. And I even have, like, I always say, like, me losing my dad was the hardest thing that ever happened, and it was the biggest thing, because everything that has happened in my life, all the dots have been connected because of that, and now I'm like on my purpose. And since then, things have been blossoming and working out better than ever before. So it is both. It is, and that's the beauty of, like, learning to understand the journey more and more. That things can be, you can be powerful and a mess at the same time.
Yes.
You can be
yes, and it's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay.
Think about when we're growing and our when we were teenagers and our bones were growing and we were stretching and getting growing pains. It hurts.
Yeah.
Growing hurts. Stretching hurts. When we grow out of things, you know, when clothes are too tight and they start to rub in places, because you're growing. You're growing out of what you used to need. And it's time. And that's the same with these journeys as your cancer. You're growing out of your old life. And you need to start to create a new one, and having purpose at the center of that is just such a game changer. And it's such a beautiful thing that it no longer owns you. The experiences you've been through don't own you. You own them. And the cancer that you might currently be experiencing or have experienced, you're hosting it. You get some choices.
Yeah.
And you get to choose what perspective you take on that and when you grow from it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to finish with one thing.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, like the gratitude. What would you say? And of course you're gonna freeze right now. Let's wait 1 second for it to get back. Yes.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, we're back.
I think it's the internet.
I know, it's great. Hey, it's working and it's possible. Like, so many years ago, this wouldn't have been possible. So I'm just happy that it's here. Yeah. What would you say has been the biggest or the gift out of the whole, like, because it's an accumulation of lessons and wake-up calls. What has been your biggest takeaway and gift that you really cherish?
Good question. Yeah, we're going to end on that one. Amazing. Absolutely, the experiences themselves, that they were there to serve me, but that realization that they were there for me, not to me. They were happening for me, not to me. So the mindset shift, the change of mindset, which has been...
Oh. Sorry guys, we're nearly there.
It's not one thing, it's around my entire life, and every part of it, I take this perspective of, do I choose to look at this side of the hand or this side of the hand? And that is where this beautiful life of mine has emerged from. I was existing. I was existing up until 4 years ago, and still in the last 2-3 years I've been doing so much personal development, because I want to get that mindset right. I want to get the journey. I'm here for a limited time, and I want to make sure that I maximize that and the impact and the service that I have to give, that I realize it. So the shift in mindset has been the most powerful thing that I've gone through. It then drives the shift in how I live my life, the shift in how I nurture my body, the shift in how I see food as a healing or harming device. And so that mindset, I would say 100% was the greatest blessing I've had from everything I've been through.
It's at the root of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
What context we choose to, like, what place we choose to view things from.
Yes.
That it just shifts your whole experience.
Yeah.
And it affects everything. So that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. I've had so much fun, and it's been enlightening to chat to you.
Same here. Like there's been some real magic in here. So I had a few goosebump moments. Thank you so much.